we would like to assess, it's not very easy, we'd like to assess if the entrepreneur is able to work in a team as the leader. And many times it so happens that the entrepreneur is just focused only in one dimension, maybe in technology, and he or she is not really that good in becoming the CEO. So at that stage, we will have to suggest who the CEO could be, and in that case, whether this person will indeed work as Chief Technology Officer under the CEO. So these are all very complex issues that we have come across. This is a daily issue that we grapple with. In order to attract high quality talent from the warm and safe embryo of a large corporation to a risky venture, people that are in these large corporations will have to have tremendous trust in this gentleman or lady, as the case may be. So it's a very, very tough process to assess the trustworthiness of people. The only thing we can do is we can talk to many people that have interacted with that person and then get their views. Is this person trustworthy? Will this person live up to the promise that he or she has made to others? It's a very tough one. Because entrepreneurship is all about deferred gratification. Sacrifice today in the hope that tomorrow will bring a fortune. Therefore, it's a game of expected value, right? Probability multiplied by what you expect. So in such a situation, where you will have to work very hard, you will have to work in very small offices, where your salary may be a small part of what you are earning. These days, salary is not a big issue because, when we fund them, I think most of them get good salaries. So salary is not a big issue. But even then, you don't know how long this idea will last. The idea may not take off at all, right? So there's considerable risk. So in order for these people to trust this entrepreneur has to somehow communicate trust. He or she will have to communicate that he is indeed a leader. He or she will have to communicate that he is daring, that his or her idea is really going to take off. But I must say that we have come across some wonderful guys. I don't know how many of you know a product called paperboard that is sold in India. And in the last year or two, where you get onto any flight and then they give you this is basically soft drinks, purely Indianized. This gentleman, this was founded by 3 youngsters, actually 4. All of them did their MBA from Wharton. One of them is an American, and they were in the top 5 or 6 in their rankings at Wharton. And one of them said, look, why don't we go to India and try and create an alternative to Coca-Cola? So they came to us. They're very smart fellows. It's headed by a gentleman named Neeraj Kakar, very bright fellow. So we were very impressed. But then we told them, instead of being number 3 in your category, that is, there is Coke, there is Pepsi, and then you are you're fledgling. Why don't you create a new category? I'm sure many of you have read Jack Trout, the famous sales strategies. And Jack Trout says that, or even Jack Welch took ideas from him, and he says that if you are not in the top 2 in a category, it is better to create a new category. So we suggested to them, said, look, instead of going behind Coca-Cola and this, why don't you think of something specific to India? So these guys have started guava juice, they've started some rasam, they've started some buttermilk, it's then thandai, then some various purely India-oriented stuff. That's taken off extremely well. But their journey was very, very tough in the beginning, because if you want to do something on a B2C basis, business to consumer basis, it's not that easy. It's very expensive. The probability of success is very low, and therefore it's a very arduous journey. And we held their hand throughout the entire journey, and I must say that they've done a brilliant job, and they're going to scale up very well. The fourth thing that we look for when we have a discussion with entrepreneurs is their ability to scale up. I have seen that different companies can scale up to different levels. For example, I've seen companies that go up to $100 million, then they start plateauing. I have seen companies that go up to $500 million and they are flattened. I have seen companies that go to $5 billion. I don't want to mention the names, I'm sure all of you know, in my own industry, and they're flattened. And I have seen companies that go to $10 billion. My own company, its growth rate started slowing down at $10 billion, right? Of course, fortunately now Vishal has come and it has started accelerating. So therefore, scaling up is not an easy thing. But scaling up while retaining quality, making sure that customers are happy, making sure that your employees are happy, making sure that you have cost control, making sure that you have not lost your margins, this is not easy. So we have created several management games, and we take these entrepreneurs, we ask these entrepreneurs to play those games, and then we see what kind of strategies they use, how they move forward, etc., etc. And the final thing that we look for in entrepreneurs is their value system. Because at the end of the day, there are two major attributes for the success of any entrepreneur. One is competence and second is character. While it's easy to measure or at least to ascertain the competence level, we have found that it is not that easy to assess the character part. In fact, most of the times we have lost money or in situations where we could not truly assess the character of the person. There are various ways that this thing manifests. For example, if they have come across some roadblock, if they came to us and told us, this is the problem, how do we solve? Hopefully, there will be, 3 or 4 heads together, some sort. But if they don't tell us, to us, that is a sign of hiding. And hiding is not a great, it's not good character. Then there are issues where people divert funds. This has happened. All of these things have happened. There are many other issues. So anyway, I would say that this is one area where we have not been very successful. Probably DV Jagdish may have done a better job because he has been a wonderful venture capital guy. This is something that we are grappling with. This is something that we are trying to learn every day. But this is not easy. Well, I think I have gone on and on and on. Let me stop here and then I would take questions from you people. As I said earlier, no question is stupid, only answers are stupid. So therefore all the stupidity emanates from this side. So please don't worry. Ask me any question. Just introduce yourself and ask me any question. I'll be happy to answer. If I don't answer, I will ask Jagdish or somebody to answer that. If I can't answer, I will.
Thank you very much for the very inspiring talk. It was very educative. I have a question. You said the communication skills have gone down. Is this because of the education system or the new style of communication?
Actually, Anu, you have given a new twist to it. No, I think it's not so much because of Facebook or Twitter, because there are people in the company who understand, who tweet a lot, who write on Facebook, etc. So I think it's primarily because of the defocusing on learning English. Our politicians are against English, and in fact, Shekhar was telling me when I was a student, probably when you were a student too, we had English for 1 full year, two subjects. But now I'm told English is not there. Shekhar, is it true or?
Yeah, it is no more full-fledged subject, but we have introduced as
No, you have done, but before I'm saying.
Yeah, now they are removed.
Yeah. So I think there is a concerted effort by our politicians, who probably know better than I do, about reducing the importance of English, and that I think is hurting our youngsters. Yeah.
Ma'am, it was a great talk. This is
Thanks.
again.
Of course, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So it's Shri Kadami, and the question
Sorry.
So the question I have is, how do you? Sorry. now. Maybe I should go all the way there. So, how do you get rid of the fear of failure in India? Because that's actually curbing a lot of creativity.
I don't know how many of you know. The first company I started was called Softronics. It was focused on developing software for Indian corporations. By the time we went into the 8th month or so, I realized that there were structural weaknesses in India because importing computers was difficult. The Indian computers were so outdated, and the Indian corporations didn't realize the importance of technology in competition. All of that. This was 1977. So I closed it. Pretty quickly, in about 9 months, I closed it. So in that sense, I didn't have a failure, but then I learned quickly from that. And the second one, has been a success by most standards. So it is very difficult for me to say that I was the last of the people to have failed and learned something and moved forward. But you are right, in some way, our environment is such that, our culture is such that, because we are a society that saw scarcity all the time, people took the view that it is better, it's better to be safe and successful than be daring and seeing failures. But that in some sense is changing, because we ourselves have come across several youngsters who have tried 2 or 3 things and come back to us. My own colleagues at Infosys who became entrepreneurs, they have had, many of them have had failures. So I think it is slowly changing. Probably at Infosys, it's because they all had stock options, they had enough money, so therefore it didn't matter to them. Okay? But I have seen outside of Infosys too, cases where people failed, but they dusted their knee, they got up, and they came back to us with other proposals. It is slowly happening, but culture is playing a huge role in not seeing as rapid a success as in this country. But this problem exists in Europe too. This problem exists in Japan. So it's all cultural. Hopefully we should overcome.
Good evening, sir. My name is Abhijit, and truly it was great listening to you, and I feel very honored to be in this session. So my question I'd like to ask in 2 parts. Few years back, or maybe recently, we learned one of your statement that recent graduates are not too fit worthy to be placed or get placed into IT companies, or at least some of them. But also we've been seeing in last couple of years, a lot of entrepreneurs coming up and really making a good mark. Many have been also successful. So what is your take on that? And
No. What actually it is, hello? It is McKinsey which conducted a very scientific study, and they said that not more than 15% of Indian engineering graduates are market worthy. It's not my statement, it is McKinsey's statement. Number 2, we recruit about in the last 10 years, at about 15 to 25,000 engineers every year. And we have found that the learnability of these engineers is becoming lower and lower and lower and lower. How do I define learnability? I define learnability as the ability to extract generic inferences out of specific instances and use them for new unstructured situations. That's the business in which we operate, because we go from customer to customer, application to application, technology to technology, etc. So for example, we conducted a simple test using basics of computer science for the so-called computer science graduates this was in 2005 or 6. We conducted a test for 5,000 CS graduates. I did it myself. Only 1.5% of them got 35 marks. 1.5% of people, in other words, only 75 people out of 5,000 that we had admitted, they were in the company, they were about to start their training. They passed, they got 35 marks. So what are you talking about the quality of education? So it's not my personal opinion. I don't give any opinions. I am an engineer. I use data and facts, and then I present data and facts.
Thank you.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಮೂರ್ತಿಗಳೇ. ನೀವೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರೋ ಈ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ರೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನೇ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಜಾನೋ ಸುಳ್ಳೋ ಕೇಳೋಣ. ಒಂದು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಲಿಂಕ್ಡ್ಇನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಟ್ವಿಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ. ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಲೆಟರ್ ಟು ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು 9 ಗಂಟೆ ಆಯಿತು, ಲೈಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆನ್, ಆಲ್ ದ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಲುಕ್ಸ್ ಬಿಸಿ, ಕಾಫಿ ಮಿಷಿನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್. Why are you guys hanging around? You should have gone home by 5 o'clock. ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ರೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ನಿಜಾನಾ? ಅದು ನೀವು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದ?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. My personal view is that we should use 8 hours that we are expected to spend in the office very productively. I have found, I've actually conducted experiments. We have collected samples of 1,000 people and seen how many hours out of the 8 hours they actually use it for the work. 4.5 hours. This was 2013. This is not old data. Srinath knows it. So my view is, look, there are youngsters. They have boyfriends, girlfriends, they want to go to a pub, they want to go for dinner, whatever it is. I think they deserve it. But they also have a responsibility to the company. So therefore, my view is, if at that young age, there is no need to sit up to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It doesn't make sense. If they provide the required productivity of 8 hours a day, I personally feel we will do whatever we are supposed to do and fully satisfy our bosses. So therefore, I don't like youngsters sitting in the office and spending time. Maybe they are there because probably 8 o'clock dinner is free or... No, seriously. I know Infosys, I know. If you are staying up to 8 o'clock, you get free dinner, something like that. Or maybe because the girl is there, she has some genuine work, so the boy is sitting. It's also... All of that are very, very natural, real stuff. There is no issue. But my view is, first let us make use of 8 hours very productively, and then let's see if we need to sit an hour extra. That's.
ನಾನು ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ ಎರಡನೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೇಮ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಯು wrote a letter to your daughter telling that I would rather send you in an auto rickshaw with your friends than send you in my private car. Rumors nijana?
Oh, absolutely. My children, as long as they were in India, which was up to their 12th grade, they were going in an auto rickshaw. My wife was very, very clear. She said, look, this is what they have been doing since they were in in kindergarten. It's not proper for us to take away the joy of sitting with another 6 kids in that. Of course, that's a very dangerous one, 8 kids in an auto rickshaw. I agree. But she said that doesn't make sense. So, absolutely. I'm both my children always took an auto rickshaw. There's nothing wrong. I mean, absolutely. Only thing is, those 8 children in an auto rickshaw, I was very uncomfortable. But my wife said, look, there are zillions of Indians doing, what are you, I mean, your children are not something extraordinary. So she shut me down. She shut me up by saying that, and I entirely agree with that.
ನಾರಾಯಣ ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಅವರೇ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Yeah.
ನೀವು 450 ಮಿಲಿಯನ್ ಜನ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ who are earning less than 60 rupees per day.
No, 32.
ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ.
This is Shri Montek Singh Ahluwalia's data, not my data.
And we all want them to come up in another next 10 years or something like that. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಈಗಿನ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ do you think the way that we have been thinking about IT jobs, IT growth and all that, whether that can measure up to the expectation of that underprivileged people? Because we are, as you know and all of us know, India is poor in manufacturing type of jobs. Adannu navu, whether we as a country, whether we are able to make that happen.
I'd say it's a very good question. First of all, remember that about 60% of Indians depend on agriculture, which contributes only 15% of our GDP. Our per capita GDP is somewhere around $1,800. Therefore, the per capita GDP of people who depend on agriculture and allied services is 1/4 of 1,800, which is $450. That $450 translates to about $1.25 or something. But that is not evenly distributed. Some people get much larger than that. A small number of people get much larger than 450, and majority of them get probably what Montek said, about maybe $200 or something like that. That is where it's a huge problem. So what is the solution for that? The solution is you have to improve the productivity of agricultural workforce. How do you improve the productivity of agricultural workforce? There are 2 ways of doing it. One, you produce more per acre, okay, like it happens in this country. Second, you move people from agriculture to services and manufacturing. Now, India already has 52% of its GDP contributed by services. And that is mostly unorganized sector. The salaries are low, there is no medical benefit, nothing, etc. So therefore, the only hope we have of creating a reasonable quality of life for these people who are in agriculture is to move to low-tech manufacturing. Why low-tech? Because as against about 400 million Indians who are illiterate, they are illiterate, huh? They cannot read or write. I believe about 600 million Indians are semi-literate. That means their level of comprehension is very low. They may not be able to read complex words, etc., etc. So the only hope that these people have is to work in low-tech manufacturing stuff, make some toys and some transistor radios, etc., like China started doing, Japan started doing in 50s, etc. But to do that, you have to improve the infrastructure. You have to improve roads. You have to improve ports. You have to improve railway system. You have to improve power, etc. Then you have to reduce bureaucracy. You have to reduce the harassment by factory inspectors, etc., etc. And that somehow we have not been able to do. Even though Mr. Modi is very, very committed and is working extremely hard in trying to achieve it, it's not easy for a very simple reason. Just like this country, we also have a federal system. That is, we have the central government, we have the state governments. And like in this country, the state government may be run by Congress, as in Karnataka, the center may be BJP. So their ideologies may differ. They may not, even though they may actually believe that what the central government is saying is right, but because of party politics, they will not accept it. So therefore, the solution to removing poverty in India is not easy. And this cannot happen by the IT industry. There is no way. Because, their education level is very low. So how can they join the IT industry? No way. The only thing is low-tech manufacturing.
Hello, sir. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಯಶಸ್ ಅಂತ.
Yeah, please. Only thing is, there may be people who don't speak Kannada, they may not be able to understand the question. So we may have to be fair to others. So, yeah.
So, ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದು ಕೇಳಿ ತುಂಬ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು. My question is a little bit of philosophical, a little bit of insight.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's a gray area. You were talking about discontinuities in world, and so a lot of people have tried to answer this, and to some extent, but looking at the future.